Hey everyone, welcome back to Epicenter Garage. Today is a very good day. One of the reasons why is because we got the transmission back from the welder, so it is fixed and just about ready to go. I need to do a little bit more cleaning, but it's so good to be able to have that fixed and welded and back correct. And I got some new parts in right over here. So, I know for some reason, I always have to feel like I need to show you guys new parts because it's like, when your friends come over, you're like, hey, let me show you what I got. So we got parts for the Porsche. So I got new Bilstein shocks for the rear of the 911 Turbo. These are completely stock shocks, which I want to keep that car pretty much all stock. We also got in Bilstein shocks for the BMW M6. Now I've been waiting on these for, oh my gosh, way too stinking long because I had them on order from one vendor and they said they had all four of them, the whole set. Come to find out, I placed an order, bought them, and they were like, well, you know what, we only have the fronts. It's like, you gotta be kidding me. That tends to happen all the time. So I had to get the fronts from them and I got the rears from another vendor. So these have come in and, So what this will allow us to do now is we can get the car up to the Car Ninja and get him going on getting the shocks installed along with the lowering springs, which I cannot wait to get that car set down on these shocks, lowered springs with the wheel fans on it. I've had that vision in my mind for so long, and to see it actually starting to happen is going to be awesome. And these three little cans right here are going to get our 944 backed up, I don't want to say backed up to spec, but looking good again because I have an 86 944 Turbo and I peeled off, it had the black rock protectors on the side in front of the front wheels, or the rear wheels I should say. And so when I pulled those things off under the bottom section, the paint was kind of chipping, the guard's red paint. So I got a whole, I don't call it a kit, but a series of, the paint, the clear coat, the primer, all that type of stuff. So that's going to be a project that I'm going to be tackling this week. So I'm going to give it my best shot. It can always be fixed, right? So that's what I tell myself. So we're going to see how well this turns out. My thought is it's on the lower part of the car, so what can it hurt to give that a try? Now, I got a car over here that I bought not too long ago that I really want to share with you guys because I love this thing. This is my 1984 Nissan / Datsun 300ZX Turbo. For those of you who don't know, they built approximately 5,100, maybe slightly over 5,100 of these cars, or at least that's how many they brought into the States. Most of these cars were automatic, being that this was considered to be the most luxurious of the 300ZX or the turbos. So a lot of them got the automatic transmissions. They had kind of a supple ride with the automatics that kind of, made it a little bit more comfortable. But this one actually has the 5-speed, which I absolutely love. You just don't find them very often with the 5 speeds. This color as well is considered, I want to say it's called Pewter, which most of them were this color. Now don't quote me on this because I think I've seen a few of them a little darker shade, but most of the ones I've seen actually are this exact same color. Now, all of the 84 anniversary cars had the 3-liter V6 turbocharged engine. Now, from a horsepower standpoint, I want to say they're right around 200 horsepower, maybe 205. They also had about for some reason, 227, 230 foot-pounds of torque is standing out in my mind. So they were pretty darn fast cars, especially for the day. 200 horsepower back then was pretty darn good, especially in 84, because then later on, you had the 86 Turbo that, I don't know if Porsche came out with the 86 Turbo, because obviously this was competing against the Porsche 944, and then later on, Porsche came out with the 944 Turbo after the 84 anniversary, sometime later, I believe it was 1986. And then later on, Nissan came out with the Shiro version of this car, which were all white. And oh my gosh, if I could find one of those, that would be sitting right next to this car because the all white wheels, the complete kind of Euro look, I love those cars. And those were more performance oriented. But getting back to this car, offset hood scoop. Who does not love an offset hood scoop? When a car has an offset hood scoop, it's not fake. It literally has a function, whereas so many cars have fake ones, and usually those are in the middle of the hood, but this is functional. It actually feeds air in, cool air, gets air down near the turbo, which is very, very important, especially since this car does not have an intercooler. One of the things I got really lucky on this car, even with 97,000 miles, it has no rust. And when I say no rust, None. Usually these things are notorious for rusting over the front wheel wells and especially the back, and it's just no rust whatsoever. And one of the other things, and it comes back to, you know, of course I love smoking the Bandit, and this is like the Japanese version of the 77 Bandit Edition Trans Am with all the gold pinstriping all over it. And when I bought this car, there was a massive box in the back. It had all brand new trim, all brand new. You can see here, I actually even pulled off the front to see how it would come off, but this trim extends all the way around the front. So I have all brand new trim, OEM trim to put on this car. The 16-inch wheels, and if I remember right, I think that was a first on the Nissan, especially on the 300ZX, was the turbo had these 16-inch wheels with kind of the turbo vanes. And of course, you know, you have the black and the gold theme, or the pewter black and gold theme, and even transition even into the wheels, just like, you know, the old snowflakes on the Bandit Edition Trans Am, where you have the gold, kind of the anodized, it's probably anodized inserts. I just love that feature. This was the first and only, I think it was the only Nissan to ever come with Pirelli P7. P7s have a certain tread pattern that is just you just can't mistake it for anything else. So that's one thing I'm going to be doing on this as well, because Pirelli is now making the P7s again. I clearly remember growing up in Bloomington, Illinois, seeing one of these for the first time, and I was just drawn, especially this section right here, and just the little detail where they took the flare out, they cut it back right here for the fuel filler door. I'm literally telling you guys about this car completely on my knees, which I don't know why I'm doing that. The back of these cars are just, it's neat how it kind of paid tribute to the older, the 240s, the 260s, and then the 280s. The 300ZX, the back end just did it for me. How they did this piece right here. And I think later on, this actually, after 84, 85, they actually took this off and that was no longer there. But the huge red taillights, and of course, the craziest thing, you would never see a car place doing this. Check this out, Nissan Turbo and Datsun. So this was the time at which they couldn't decide to make up their mind for U.S. cars whether or not they were going to be branded under the Datsun brand or whether or not they're going to be Nissan. And obviously we know who won out. Nissan ended up winning out. But it's just really strange that they had two brand badges on the back of this car, which is, I just love the quirkiness about that. This car even has the stock exhaust, which, for 97,000 miles, I can't believe it did not completely rust away, but it is completely stock, still there, and actually, you know what? Pretty darn tight. All the Datsuns or the Nissans from this era, they all have that same feel. It kind of feels like a Nissan Maxima. They all kind of have the same kind of texture. The dash is, obviously that's not real leather, but the dash kind of has that rubbery feel. The shifters, and for some reason, Nissan in their manual cars, they always had this rubber boot with this kind of squared off shifter. It just feels so Nissan or so Datsun. I just absolutely love it. And the steering wheel here with your radio controls on the left-hand side, your cruise control on your right-hand side. And of course, these cars were super famous or well-known is the body sonic amplifier that's tied in, obviously, in with your radio system. But that actually is a system where they have subwoofers in these seats. And did I mention too, these cars came with three-way adjustable shocks or suspension on them. So you can actually go through the different suspensions right here. And the funny thing is, it does make a difference, but even at the hardest setting, this car, it kind of wallers around and is quite fitting with these seats because these seats don't have the biggest bolsters. So, you're gonna slide around no matter what. So the suspension is pretty soft, but it's just a comfortable car to drive. And this one has this whole stock stereo system. Could you imagine? I can see why you wouldn't even want to pull this thing out. It's such a huge part of the dash right here. Either a cassette player, and it would just be a pain in the rear to find a different unit to put in there. But that's a good thing because the stock one is here.
And then you have the gauge cluster. The green is just awesome. It reminds me of just the old watches from, you know, the late 70s and early 80s. But here you've got the tachometer with it rises up in that bell curve. And of course, over here, you've got your temperature. Obviously, you have your oil temperature, your water temperature, and then your battery voltage. And at the top, you have your speedometer. And of course, being a digital readout. And then your gas gauge over on the left. And then your kind of your idiot gauges at the very top. But one of the best parts that I love about this car is the fact that over on the right here, not only do you have a compass and a digital or electronic compass, but you actually also have a G meter that at the top, it'll tell you how many G's you're actually pulling, which is really kind of interesting in this car. It's a pretty compliant car, so you're not going to pull that many G's.
So we need to do a few things to my 84-300ZX turbo. Everything from the master cylinder is out and not working, I should say. The slave cylinder is leaking a little bit. So the clutch is not working, obviously. The AC is not working, and a few other things. And we are going to, one really cool thing is that Pirelli now makes the original P7 tires again for this car. So we're gonna go back to the original tires that it came on when it left the factory. That's gonna be really cool. So once again, you guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe, and we'll see you guys again real soon.